Hi everyone, this is Rihole and welcome to STEAM Power. I am the founder and the director, and our aim is to open doors to diversity in STEM. We are here to change narratives, and for the month of March, we are celebrating the contribution of women to the world of STEM. Today, we have a very special guest. She has worked in education for over 30 years as a teacher, director and consultant. She is a fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry and a chartered chemist. She gained an MSc in analytical chemistry at Staffordshire University and a postgraduate certificate in secondary education in science and mathematics at Leicester University. She chose to be a teacher to encourage girls to see chemistry as a subject for them, as she was the only girl in her A-level chemistry class and one of 5 girls in her undergraduate degree. She's passionate about learning by doing and won awards for her innovative chemistry lessons. Welcome, Dr. Sani.
Thank you very much, Rihola. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for your time. So let's begin. Tell us, what inspired you to begin a career in chemistry?
Actually, I think that I was inspired before I even knew what the word chemistry was. As a child, I used to walk past the local chemist shop, and it was called a chemist in those days, not a pharmacy. And in the window, they always displayed those massive bottles with the red, green and blue liquids. And I was absolutely fascinated by those. And, you know, it was years later, actually, when I was in school. So I'm talking about at the age of around 4. But when I was in school, in secondary school, and we were actually doing chemistry by then, the colours, the experiments, that's what really interested me. And I just wanted to know more and more. I was fortunate in that I had a chemistry teacher who in middle school would do experiments. But by the time we got to A-levels, he was trying to convince us that experiments don't work. And as you mentioned, I was the only girl in my chemistry class. And I insisted because I learned by doing. And I, wanted to do the experiments. And he actually said, okay, well, you want to do them? Go ahead. And that was actually probably the thing which made me become an analytical chemist, because I had so much practice, so much exploration, and I was just fascinated, always learning new things, smells, colours, everything, so.
What do your parents and the wider community saw you as a girl in chemistry?
It wasn't a question. For my parents, as I was growing up, they exposed me to so much. I mean, we're talking about playing the piano, ballet, gymnastics, whatever, gardening, cycling, everything. And it was more about having a holistic experience of life than saying, oh, you're going to be this or you're going to be that. They were just very supportive when I said that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to study chemistry. In terms of the community, it was pretty much, wow, chemistry, That's how, I think that when we're not aware or we don't have an understanding of something, it always seems like there's a wow factor. For me, it was just a natural progression. For others, it was like, wow, you must be so smart. And I'm like, actually, no, I'm not. I just love what I'm doing. That's it, So I had a lot of support, Having said that, I did grow up in an era where very few people went to university. And so being a person of colour, it wasn't so easy even to go to university. And so when that was my dream, it was a dream that I pursued. It wasn't, there were people who'd say, oh no, don't bother, just get a job. But that's not what I wanted to do. And so I just...
So how was it university, the lecturers?
They were fantastic. No, I cannot complain at all about my experience at university for my undergraduate degree. All of my lecturers, all of my teachers actually have been men when it came to chemistry. And in fact, they pushed me even harder than I would have pushed myself. I had a professor telling me that I wasn't ambitious enough. I can do more. And another asked me, so what are you going to do when you finish your degree? And I said, I don't know. You know, all I know is that I love chemistry. And he is probably the one that made me decide to go into teaching, because he basically said that if I love chemistry, the only way to stick with it is to teach it, because by the age of 30, I would be behind a desk. And that's not what I wanted to do. So I then went on to Leicester to do a PGCE and went straight into teaching after that.
So how was teaching chemistry in secondary school? Were the children open, where you had more boys gravitating towards it, or the girls, or was it just everyone really enthralled in your lessons?
Okay, so I've taught in the UK. That's where my first teaching experiences were. And then after that in Saudi Arabia. So in the UK, my classes were mixed. I think I can't say that there was more interest from the boys or from the girls. I think it was just a case of preference. Like I say, I'm very hands-on, so I used to do a lot of practical work, and I think that that's one of the ways in which girls in particular became attracted to the subject. With the boys, some of them, they liked practicals, but experiments, but others, they were fine if it was abstract, you know. But for me personally, it wasn't. I needed them to enjoy. I needed them to see, to touch, to smell, even the bad smells, but, you know, everything has a reason. In Saudi Arabia, I was teaching only girls. And so it was purely down to whether they like science, whether they like chemistry. Some of them found it difficult, but at the same time, they enjoyed it. And so once I know what it is that makes them enjoy it, I do more of that. And I think that with sciences in particular, it's the relationship to life. You know, that's what gets people. They think, oh, this perfume smells like this because, you know, and so this is what I try to do. In fact, on reflection, when I think back to my undergraduate studies, I always chose projects, and this was not so. I wasn't conscious of this until I started thinking about what I did. For example, I did things like analysing the limonene content in lemons and the caffeine content in different types of coffee and things like that. And now when I think back, I was actually doing those because I could relate to them more so than some other type of project, which I couldn't necessarily see where, you know, it was probably too abstract. You know, analysing water was something else that I did, and trying to find methods to detect trace amounts of aluminium, which was linked to, you know, certain diseases and things like that. So I think that how related a student is to the subject is really, really important.
Do you think that in the educational system, we are doing enough to teach children about chemistry to the point that they want to take that further into university or even start a business or something of that nature?
I think in terms of teaching, because I love chemistry, I feel that it's been watered down to a certain extent to make it easier. And I don't think that it should have been watered down to make it easier. I think the strategies used to teach it could have been developed more so that students, like I say, even if they find it difficult, because they enjoy it, they're more willing to take it on. There's still a lot of stigma attached to chemistry, physics as being difficult subjects, but you know, it's how it's approached. And I think that as educators, we also have to try to encourage students to even challenge themselves, you know, to approach the things which they think are difficult. I don't love everything in chemistry, but I love more of it than I don't. And so for that reason, I pursued it. Another thing is understanding what they can do with a subject is very important. Much of my work these days is related to career counselling, because I was always concerned about what students do when they finish school. And I concentrate, not only, but I mainly concentrate on high school students, and trying to get them to discover what is it that they want to do. What are they good at, or what could they be good at, and where will these subjects take them? And I think that a lot of the times, although there are obviously a lot of efforts here with the Gatsby benchmarks and so on, I think a lot of the time there are probably too many students for the number of careers guidance counselors that are available to help them to know that they can go into this field and what it can lead to after that.
Thank you. And in concluding, what do you recommend us to read?
Oh, what do I recommend to us or students?
Let's say students, because most of the times, I find that parents feel away from certain subjects. So let's say that you have a student that struggles with chemistry, goes home and tries to seek parent support, and that parent can't offer that support. So that parent feels that way. I don't know either, so I cannot help you. So you have in a household, people have this odd feeling about chemistry. Is there any book that can kind of demystify some of the myths surrounding chemistry? I remember back in the day, I couldn't ask for help with chemistry. I started doing chemistry when I was about 14, 15. And one teacher, I remember, he told me, this is not for you. So I had
Oh, no.
Yeah. I had so many teachers telling me, do you know anything? I had a lot of teachers like that, and they were mainly men. They were mainly white men telling me that. So it was not a nice experience. After that teacher said that to me, picked up myself and I enrolled myself to another high school, to another secondary school. And the chemistry teacher that I found there was brilliant, because he said to us, I am not going to assume that you know anything about chemistry. And he started from zero all the way up. And I was able to, to learn something about chemistry, because it was scary. It was a scary subject. And whenever, before moving to that secondary school, I felt stupid. And not only me, many other people, especially those coming from public schools, the ones that came from private school, they were fine. But everybody else that came from the public didn't have a clue about chemistry.
That's such a shame that you had such a bad experience. As you mentioned, one of the reasons I went into teaching was to ensure that, well, not to ensure, but to try to contribute to girls, feeling that chemistry is a subject for them. Okay. And that was because, like I say, I was the only girl. I wasn't the only girl in my high school or in my A-level, my sixth form, of course, but I was the only one that chose to do chemistry. And a lot of them were, no, that's not for us. We'll do economics, we'll do literature, we'll do other things. There were only two of us that actually went into STEM fields, and my friend, she went into IT, and so we didn't have anyone to speak to about these subjects. We didn't have any role models. We didn't have YouTube, which is one of the things I'm going to suggest, to go to find out whether about the subject or about people who are working in the field or anything. So basically, we would be reading books. And of course, every book that you read is out of date because it's been written and printed long before you actually get to see it or read it. So I used my textbooks and whatever my teacher told me. Other little experiments and things that we try to do at home, with baking soda and vinegar and these kind of things. But I think that, an important thing is, like when you say that parents don't know, my mother didn't know anything about chemistry. I shouldn't say she didn't know anything, but I mean, she didn't study chemistry. She was a nurse. But she used to say to me, I don't really know what you're doing, but if there's anything that I can do to help you, then just let me know. What do you need? And I think that parents can support these days in the same manner, but with more resources, because there are more resources available. There are websites which go from A to Z for practically every single grade level, whether it's chemistry, science, math. You can find absolutely everything that you need online. There's videos, there's books. There are people like myself. I mentor many students, and there are lots of other people. I don't just mentor regarding chemistry, because I've taught chemistry, physics, math. I've even been involved in mechanical engineering and different subjects. So, parents shouldn't feel shy to reach out to the community and say, okay, my child is interested in this. Is there anybody out there who can help? Because 9 times out of 10, some of us will say yes. And it's not about spending a lot of time with them, but it's about spending just that quality time with them, and letting them express themselves, and letting them explain where their fears are, and guiding them as to what they can do. And it's surprising because you're saying children. I'm actually mentoring a couple of university students at the moment, and I'm finding exactly the same thing. So I think that wherever we can, we should, as a community, help the younger people or whoever needs help to get to where they want to be. In terms of a book to read, it's not really a book about chemistry.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. A book that I particularly like for children is Who Moved My Cheese? Yeah, I mean, it's about being yourself, and finding your way. And my quote, the quote that I like, is basically talking about being yourself in a world which wants you to be something else. Mm-hmm. And I think that has been key for me. I have many, many quotes that I like, but that kind of describes me, because I've come across many different challenges, and I thank God that I'm where I am now. So
thank you very much, Dr. Sani, and we'll see you in the next episode where we continue to celebrate women in STEM. Thank you.